So, guys, you're
Well, yeah, the protest I went to 2 weeks.
Go on, Spitfire. Go on.
The protest I went to in Hull 2 weeks previous to that.
Yeah.
There was one guy shouting his mouth off. I think he was drinking. I don't really didn't pay much attention, but he was being very vocal, saying it's all shit and all this lot. And we did notice him then walking over to the police, having a cosy conversation with him. It was like he was trying to agitate, but nobody was having any of it. So I guess I've seen both sides.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and let me just pull that out off the screen. Just 1 second, that's it. I'm just having a look at participants because have we got someone just joining us?
Yeah, it's Mr. Spencer. I'll let him in.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, him as well.
Yeah.
Good evening, Charles. He's connecting still. Good evening, how are you?
Oh, wait, I'm not on the...
Can you just talk for a second? I'm going to just real quick, guys. Spearthrow, can you just talk for a second with Charles? I'm just going to see if I can have a quick word with Jeanette. She's trying to get on and she's probably having problems. And Dell's in as well. I'll let Dell in. So if you guys could just talk for a second while I try and get Jeanette in.
Yeah. How's it going, Charles?
I'm fine, and Spearthrow and Jojo, but I must admit, yeah, I've been listening for a few minutes, if you know, before I come on, like, you know what I mean, sort of thing. But it is good to see the people are turning back on the police now. Now, today at the Cenotaph, when the Piper got pushed over and that, if you know what I mean, police were all aggressive to the others, but I tell you what, they backed down, the police, realised, you know what I mean, there was some that will hurt them, you know, some other vets and that, if you know what I mean, sort of thing. You know, but then it calmed down, if you know, which is how it should have, you know, be like, you know what I mean, sort of thing. But I watched another video early today, last night, the police with riot shields and that in London charged these youths and all this lot. And the youths charged them back. And the police went legging off. They was getting a right hammering the police, if you know what I mean. But I don't know what it was about, if you know what I mean. But it's about time we did it, you know what I mean. So the
thing is, Charles, it's been a long time since the police have been up against anybody who will actually fight back, other than the Al-Mohammedans that are out there. I mean, you think of the miners' strikes, how aggressive they were then, and the iconic pictures of the day, you know, of the guy running away and the copper approached him on a horse with his truncheon out. Yeah, that's one of the ones that sticks in my mind. But that was the last real hard opposition the cops have had, other than the football match.
You know, I mean, I put a comment on the I forgot, he's an active patriot or something. I was watching, whatever it is, at the Cenotaph. And I just put a comment that, you know what I mean, you police better watch it. Tack one vet and you're going to get 4 million after you. All of you. There's only about 100,000 of you. You'll be mincemeat within hours. You know what I mean? Pick your side, sort of thing. It's getting, you know, too aggressive and all this lot. You know what I mean? You go around beating anybody.
Just to let the guys know, Delroy's joined us as well. I've just tried to get Jeanette, and she seems to be having problems logging into us at the moment. So good evening, Del, and thank you, Charles, and thank you guys for staying on with us.
The thing is, veterans have suffered and given up so much and seen so much loss and suffered, you know, pain, that they're not the same as when you start picking on them and these little, you know, they're like their remembrance days. They're special to them in a very different way that the normal man would not understand.
Yeah.
And when you start fucking with that, then you're really disrespecting some serious people, and that is not a way to go.
Yeah. But you know what, Jojo? Worst thing about today is all the top knobs there, fenced off and doing their normal thing and all this lot. You know what I mean? Few minutes there. They all disrespect the veterans anyway and all this lot. You know what I mean? But they go there because they're going to claim the 300 quid a day allowance and there's a massive banquet for them. Do you know that?
Who's that for?
So, people of the cenotaph today, the Queen, Prime Minister, and all this lot. So the top knobs there. That's why it was fenced off, saying it's private because of the, COVID-19 and all this lot. So they was laying their reefs and that, but they're the most disrespectful people to service people and that. To me, I've always said to the veterans and that, you should ask the government, MPs, Tony Blair, that, they all come out the woodwork, all there laying the reefs first in the limelight. Should tell them to stay away. It's for veterans only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever noticed, Charles, that hang on a minute, Jeanette's phoning me. Hang on.
Yeah, don't worry.
And it should be so.
Yeah,
You're not a member of this brigade. You didn't suffer. Fuck off.
yeah,
Tally ho. You do yours next Sunday, and we'll do ours today.
exactly, Joe. You know what I mean? But you get a lot of the veterans who go, no, she's our queen, we honour her. And she's doing nothing for you. You know what I mean? She could order the government to stop the Northern Ireland stuff and all this lot, you know what I mean? And other things, you know what I mean? Tell the government, get the homeless off the streets and that. She ain't interested, sort of thing, you know what I mean? It's all a myth, you know what I mean? Sort of thing, people need to wake up about it, you know what I mean? But, never mind.
Well, what's that old saying, Charles? People never wake up till it's too late.
No, they won't, you know what I mean?
And then you wake up and suddenly you're so far down the fucking crapper, that. But you can explain to people till the cows come home, and it don't make no difference. They've made life an individual thing. Everybody's out for themselves, and an individual rather than a group of men and women just trying to get on. They've divided everything. They've divided marriages, men, women, sex, religion. Everything is a division. You can't step sideways. You're banging into some barrier of some kind that's been put there to stop you from just communicating sensibly and honourably with another man or a woman.
Yeah. There's a man in Wigan today who's been fined. He got caught at his mate's house having a cup of tea. Honest, you know what I mean? So police were trying to say, he lied about his reason he was there. So why fine him? If you know what I mean, should say, right, mate, go home. End of story. You know what I mean? But they had to fine him, the £200, like, you know, it's all about money. Delroy will tell you about
It's all about commerce. We know that.
Yeah. 200 quid for it. Who gets the money? You know what I mean? Sort of thing.
This is what annoys me, is that he can use emergency powers to do all this. And that's what he's done. He's used COVID-19 for an excuse. It's not anything about terrorists anymore. It's about people's freedoms and discriminatory. I mean, you're telling people, people are having goes at other people about wearing face masks. Well, that's discrimination. You're talking about people's human rights and about what they can go, where they can go, what they can do, and where they can walk and where they can't walk. It's all wrong. Everything the police are doing is totally, it's almost turning into martial law. And using pepper spray today, using batons, pushing that piper over, and all he did was playing the bagpipes. He wasn't antagonising them. I was watching the video and I saw it.
Yeah. You won't, if you read the Daily Mail, loads say he walked into him, he was attacking him, he deserved it, But I say, I was reading their comments and that, and I think, get out my country, you know what I mean? Don't need you jerks. I don't give a damn if you was born here and all this stuff. We don't need you, that type of people in, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like I say, he wanted to go and pay the respects.
He did.
So he should have been allowed. Chuff the Queen and all this lot. If you know
he had full regalia on, he had full uniform on, he had his kilt on, he had pipes on, he was dressed, and he was there for one reason. to show his respect. Now, what they did to him was totally disrespectful. And the way the police are acting is kind of like becoming a bit of I don't know, it's getting so dictatorial, it's unbelievable.
Well, they're obviously getting them, they're obviously getting them fucking ideas from somewhere. So they're getting the green light from somewhere. And then you have the other half of them that have complexes, and the other fucking half that are stoned more than the common man on the street. They're going in there and their steroids and everything else, and they're egged up for it.
How do we actually stand on this, Del? I can see Del's in here. How do we actually stand on this where, okay, we can, oh, Jeanette, she's done it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Bless her.
No, no, well, talk
Let me
to
just
Jeanette.
bring in Jeanette, because Jeanette's an absolute angel and we love her to pieces. Where is Jeanette? Ah, she is. Just let me bring Jeanette in, guys, if you don't mind. I wanted Jeanette to come on with Charles and Del, and I'm glad to see her, friend. Hello, babes.
Ethan.
Just go on to the three dotted lines next to mute on your, if you get your arrow and point it up towards the right hand top of your screen where it's got your name. See the three dots?
Three dots.
Yeah, the three dots, it says mute and three dots.
Oh, yeah.
Right, click on the three dots.
Yeah.
And it says start video.
No, it does not. Oh, yes, it does.
If you're sharing a video, there's a little if you're sharing. All right, so I thought you were sharing a video as in a screen share, but you're trying
Got Sandy joining us as well.
Sandy's coming in as well, so.
Thanks, guys. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're right, darling. I mean, we do have these problems.
That's a woman's prerogative, isn't it?
I've never managed yet to get in through the website. I've always gone through the Zoom link. As soon as I've got that Zoom ID, I'm fine.
That normally happens, right, Sandy. I'll come back to you in a minute, mate. We've got some echo in somewhere. But, yeah, you have to just be a little bit careful sometimes. If you've got YouTube or anything else on, you might get a little bit of echoing or background noise in the background.
No, you're the only thing I've got open, so let me just make sure it's not coming off my phone.
No, yeah, that's true.
I think it might have been Sandy, because I saw Sandy pop up a minute ago. So that happens when there's
Sandy.
mic activity.
He's there. Good lad.
He's got YouTube in the background.
Welcome to everybody that's on here. Well, what we wanted to do is talk about a little bit of common law with Jeanette and get Jeanette a bit past sway with the common law. And I'm really grateful that Charles and Delroy are great guys with their common law have managed to come on with us tonight, which helps us, Jeanette. And like we start off by saying, we were talking earlier on, and Dave started off the top of the show, and I heard him saying a bit about common law and the 3 C's: no contract, no consent, and no comment. Those are the 3 things you've got to remember when you're confronted by the police. So if you are ever at a demonstration and they turn around and say, want to move you on because they're using these draconian rules and regulations that they come up with, and because they're using the powers, emergency powers, what Boris Johnson's reenacted, not for terrorism, for COVID.
Yeah.
Now, because he's done this, you're better off saying nothing. You just don't consent to anything. So if you bid them no harm, no loss, no injury, they've got to respect the fact that you bid them no harm, no loss, no injury, right? So therefore, they shouldn't be able to put their hands on you, shouldn't be able to touch you, assault you, or do anything to you, because you bid them the same respect that you want from them, right? And then if you carry on saying no comment, that you don't want to say anything, you've got that right, because they can turn around and say you have the right to remain silent. Anything you do say may be taken down and used as evidence against you. So be it. But that's their regulations and that's their rules. But if you go down the line of no consent, you're not consenting to anything they're doing. And you just don't say anything. You don't sign anything. You don't recognise anything, and you don't oblige in anything they do. Because at the end of the day, they will try to put you in a legal fiction, right? They will class you as the straw man woman, right?
Yeah.
They will try to give you a pseudonym that you're not. You're a living woman, and you're a living man. So therefore, you stick to your guns and you stick to what you know, and that is what I'm trying to say to you, is that you just do not say anything. You do not consent to any of it. And Charles and Del will come in with me and correct me on anything I do say wrong. But these guys have taught me so much over the weeks that I've been doing this. But we've talked about the birth certificate and about they want you to be part of this fiction. So the state gives you a birth certificate when you're born and creates a second person. So you become this second person. And like we were talking about, if you get letters through the post and it's got you as capitals, you don't have to accept that letter because they're using your straw man. They're using your living fiction. And what it is, your birth certificate is what they've done by trying. What did we say, Charles? I think we were talking about this one week, and I said we were talking about the fee that social services sometimes pay parents or your parental guidance. There used to be a saying that you're worth your weight in gold. Well, I know it's sterling that we talk about, isn't it? You there, Charles?
I was muted. I was muted. Yeah, it's sterling. Worth your weight in silver, it is. Sterling.
Yeah, so it's silver is
Sterling
the...
is silver, the weight in...
Yeah, it's not in weight in gold, it's weight in sterling. So in that sense, where we're talking about you're worth your weight in gold, you actually are worth so many, is it ounces or birth weight in silver?
Yeah, whatever your weight is.
So if your birth weight's £7,
yeah,
you're worth £7 of silver. If you get what I mean, that's what they want to put on you. That's the price tag they want to put on you as the fiction they want to create for you through life.
Yeah, that's what they claim for you.
So this is the thing where they give you this birth certificate, and you'll always find in your birth certificate that you'll have 3 columns, and I think, is it the 3rd column where it should be your name, and you should find it not in capitals, but they tend to put it in capital letters. Am I right again, Charles?
Well, it should be in small case.
Small case, this is what it should be, but...
Which is basically a capital letter to start, and the rest of it's in small case. It's called small case. Sorry.
But when we were talking about, you know, sorry?
There's for Jeanette.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeanette. See that, Jeanette?
Yeah.
See, that's a letter sent to me from a court, and you see all the writing on, even on the back. That's my rebuttal. And straight away, I write all that, because basically, any letter between 2 parties has to be delivered by a recognised server, which is the post office, and bearing a stamp with the Queen's head on.
Oh, yeah. So they're not allowed to give it a frank mark thing, are they?
Frank or-
Yeah, I learnt this last time I was on.
Yeah. But here's a copy of it, or what I put UPS and all this.
Yeah.
I think we did that last time. We touched on it last time, Jeanette,
Yeah,
when I
we
was
did.
showing you them letters from and that's what initially the stamp is of the Queen's head. That is the actual. It's like I've actually gone down this road with Delwell and Charles, and I've actually written to Oliver Durden. Oliver Durden's a Conservative MP, and he's been made the Postmaster General in, I think, name only, because he's not replied to any of the letters that I've sent him about the problems I was having with this pseudonym they were putting me under, using fraudulent UPU addresses, fraudulent addresses and post boxes. The post box is illegal. If you get any letter or anything from a postal box, it's a way of making, it's just like for commerce. It's a money making machine. One way. Now, like your parking fines and everything else, and your speeding tickets and everything else, it's like your car. If your car's registered, right, it's registered to DVLC. If you look on the bottom of that logbook, it says you are the registered keeper. It doesn't say you're the owner.
Yeah.
You're the registered keeper. So this comes under what we were talking about at the start of the show about your fiction, right? They want you to be something that you're not. So there's nothing to stop them from putting a parking ticket on it, clamping that vehicle, and even taking it away or doing whatever they want to do with it. Because they're only classing you as a fiction.
Can I say, since I was on last time, I've been trying to learn more. And what I'm seeing is that it seems to me, because if I take my situation of, because I really wanted to learn about, you know, the 3 C's and my rights, that if I am approached at a protest or whatever, because, you know, I have got a bit of a target on my back, as you know, right?
Yeah.
But so I've been learning all that, and I've been watching a lot of things. But what seems to come to mind now is that the police themselves don't seem to understand anything about common law whatsoever. So when you're talking to them about the fact that, you know, I will not enter into contract, I do not consent and no comment and all this sort of stuff, they just carry on doing their own thing anyway.
Because
and
they're programmed by the
yeah.
state, aren't they?
So they've got no knowledge of this. So it won't stop them from doing all those things. So let's just say I get arrested at a protest and they, you know, take me away and all the rest of it and try and find me. The police can't even find me anyway, but they seem to think they can. So then will it basically fall apart if it tries to go to court? Is that when then the common law, we actually can use it? Or, because I'm getting the impression that common law is just being completely ignored everywhere.
Delroy, do you want to come in and say something? Because I like to listen to Del.
If I start, I won't stop.
Go on.
If I start, I won't stop.
I don't care.
You're going to be here for a while if I start, though.
Carry on. Jeanette wants to hear it. Jeanette wants to hear it.
You respond to what I just said there, Roy.
Yeah, I've been listening, haven't I? I've just not said anything because I wasn't asked it until now. But yeah, I know what you've said. So therefore, it's not. We need to realize. You talk about common law. Well, what common law are you referring to?
What I've learned from you guys. That's about my lot.
I asked a question.
There's the answer.
What common law are you referring to? What common law are you referring to?
I think you're talking about Magna Carta. Are
this
you
is why I'm asking the question, because you know with me it's going to be...
You cut out there, Del.
You talk about common law Magna Carta?
Yeah.
Are you talking about common law we have now? You're talking about common law Magna Carta?
What one works best?
Right, well, you've got to stand... You want about the common...
He keeps breaking up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Give me or to Del.
He keeps breaking up.
I keep stopping because I hear you speak.
Sorry, mate.
No, you're all right. I keep hearing you speak. That's why I'm stopping. But I asked which common law? Are you on about the common law now? Or are you on about the common law when you're talking about Magna Carta?
Well, what I've gone from when I started all this is I've gone through to try and do it through history, and I've gone through 1215 Magna Carta, and I've gone to the Arbroath Agreement in the 1300s, and then the Battle of Runnymede in 1600s. And I've tried to do some of my history on it and learn about the barons and so on and so forth. And I've gone through the history as much as I can. But as far as I can do it, what I've seen is about you don't consent to anything to this day, right? You don't comment, you don't contract to anything, because it's a contract they want to try and get you to agree to. So the 3 C's, when we talk about the 3 C's, is no comment, no contest, no consent, and no contract.
Yeah.
So they're better off saying nothing if they're in your face, like Jeanette's saying to you at a protest. You don't say anything at all. You just stay, no comment.
Right.
You give them
why was so what? Yeah, okay, I get that. So why would you say no comment, no contract, no consent? Why would you say that?
Because you don't agree to their draconian rules and regulations or their acts and statutes.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. I get that. But why are you refusing to agree to the acts and statute? What are the acts and statutes doing?
Well, it's what they brought out. It's their look. Parliament can bring out acts and statutes by the bucket load, you know, and they expect us to adhere to whatever they say. It's like the COVID-19. It's a fallacy. It's false. It's a false law.
But it's not a law, is it?
No,
I know it's not law. So if it's not law, this is a question I'm getting to. What if it's not law? What is it? That's the question I'm asking.
I personally think it's a guideline, but they're overzealous with by fining you for being on the street. Because
okay, all right, this key word you said. Okay, fine. All right, you just said they're fining you. What does a fine mean? What does it mean? I'm doing this deliberately. I could be around that, but I'm doing this on purpose because you've got. I can only offer the truth. This is deliberate. Why I'm doing this. I'm purposely doing this. You said fine. Hang on. You, Alan, you said fine. Let's stick with where you are, Alan. You said fine. Okay, yes. What is a fine, Alan? What does it involve?
It involves them taking your details and everything about you, information off of you, to bring you into the realms of what they want you to be. They want you to be this living fiction.
Okay, not living fiction, a fiction, right? So now we're getting to where we need to get to. This is good so far. We're getting there, right? So you've been offered a fine, okay, and they're trying to trick you, all right, into you I'm going to use the correct terminology because I know exactly what's going on. They're trying to trick you to underwriting commercial bonds, all right. So what they the issue is you're talking about commerce. Let's get into what's really going on here. So you're talking about commerce, yeah? You're not talking about common law because this common law is not the issue here. You're talking about commerce, right? So there's a reason why you're talking about commerce. It's interesting. So you're talking about commerce. So that involves contract, which is civil. Interesting. And that's why they keep getting to magistrates court. But but you just said to me, you said something about a living entity. Now, an entity cannot be living. So the entity is a dead entity, but obviously there's something to do with you're somehow involved with all of this. So if you're a living man and they're trying to say to you that you're responsible for so-called fiction, if you're getting involved in a fiction, you've agreed to that fiction, so therefore you've agreed to be a fiction in the first place. That's where the first mistake goes wrong. That's where you kill everybody, annihilates themselves the minute they admit to being a fiction. Because if you bear false witness, because you cannot, because it clearly states, and don't take my word for it, it clearly states on a piece of paper not to be used as identification, crown, copyright. It clearly states that. So therefore, if he's telling you not to be identify yourself by something that's crown copywritten, that's clearly telling you not to do something if you can't be identifying yourself by it. So you shouldn't be identifying yourself by it. That's because it will put you in what's called commercial dishonor. So we're talking about commercial instruments here. Now, if you're a living man, therefore, if it's a crime and it's criminal, because there's three elements to a crime, meaning actus rea, mens rea, and obviously injured party, that means you shouldn't be ever be fined. You should be having not a charge. You should be having an indictment, and it should be at the Crown Court. Should never be in magistrates court. Should never be in front of a magi performing magistrates. And we've gone through this, right? So there's two things going on here. So we've got an issue of what you said about common law, and we've got an issue of commerce. So there's two things going on. So we've got common law, allegedly, and commerce. So let's get the two established. Let's get right if we're going to do it properly. So when we can talk about common law, which common law are you referring to? You said Magna Carta 1215. You mentioned Magna Carta 1215. Now, unfortunately, this is where we're going to get. This is where it gets interesting now. You mentioned Magna Carta 1215, but why were the barons kicking a stink? Why did the barons kick a stink and make King John, allegedly King John, sign the Magna Carta in the Albion as it was back then? Because it certainly weren't United Kingdom PLC, I can tell you that much. Right, so let's get into what's really going on here. We'll have a little bit of fun because I came prepared. I didn't come half asleep. I came ready. I came armed to the teeth. Now let me just pull something up here because I've got my screen shared. So let me just have it up, and I'm going to use. I think it's this one. Let me check. Make sure my audio can be shared. I think it's this one. I think it's this one. Yes. So let's just have this up. Let's see if the internet will behave itself. Let's see if we can get this up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come up. All right, so just give it a second because it takes a little bit of time while it's warm. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, so it's up, so we can see in front of us. Now, I'm going to leave this because I don't need to do all of this. It's just a certain part of this that I want because I know what's going on. That's all. They're the ones who are really running this system, but I'm leaving them today. I want to get into, that's the history on it of what's really going on. But I want to, this is all part of it. This is how it all started off, but I want to leave that for now. I want to get into this. This is why we have Magna Carta. So let's get into why Magna Carta took place first before we get into anything else. So then it makes more sense about why we've got half the problems that we've got that we should be doing, but we are dealing with. So winning and conquering 1066, the people of England held, this is key here, not a lordal title to their land. You need to know what lordal title means first and foremost. That's getting interesting because that's all to do with your estate, but we'll keep going. Not even the king. Hear this. Not even the king. Not the kings or queens. The people on the land. Interesting, that isn't it? Not the king. The people. Normal men and women. You know. Normal men and women. So let's keep going. William the Conqueror in 1066 came and stole. Somebody's talking. It's putting me off. So stole the king's title and took the land of the people, right? The land of the people. Remember the people's land, not the king's, the people's land. Keep that in mind. From William the Conqueror, 1066 to King John, this is key, 1099, England, or the Albion, was in dire straits and was bankrupt. This is key here, because that's commercial now. That's mentioned something to do with bankrupt, something to do with commercial. All right, so let's keep in mind. The king invoked the law of mortmain. This is key here. The dead man's hand. So the people couldn't pass their land, not the king's land, you know, their land onto the church. Ooh, so that means the church are involved there somewhere, the cabal cult, or anyone else without the king's permission. Modern day probate. Every time you leave prison, you go to probate. Every time a state somebody dies, goes into probate. People should know what probate means. Without mortmain, the king would lose the land he controlled. The Vatican didn't like that because the king owned lots of pounds. Wink, wink, Alan. Pounds and ounces when you were at birth. Wink, wink. Drop the hint. Lots of pounds to the Vatican. King John refused to accept the Vatican's representative, because obviously he's representing Stephen Langton, whom the Pope installed to rule England. Religious edict. In 1208, England was placed under papal interdict. Interdict means probation. This is all to do with a state. This is what's really been going on that everybody keeps missing out on. So we used to have what was common law, but we clearly don't have that anymore. So what did we get in its place instead of common law? So what?
Commerce.
Did we get? Let's find out. This is what really went on. 1213, and the contract commercial called the Treaty of Verona. King John, as most kings tried to no avail, to establish William the Conqueror did as a dictatorship. Hence what Boris Johnson's doing right now, and Trump and Biden. I'm leaving those dickheads. I'll deal with those in a minute. This seems to be the model to follow, and William set a precedence that all kings and queens would try to follow, or at least they would try to push the boundaries further set out in the doctrine written by the Church of Rome. So it's clear where it's coming from, the Church of Rome, the cabal cult. The Pope's main goal was to try to control all the lands of all the lands of the world under the doctrine he is Vicar of Christ. Vicar means the place in place of. That means it's a bomber class substitute. That means it's a fraud, but I'll get on that later on. I want to leave that. Using the myth of Jesus Christ to achieve this, placing him at the top of the chain, and by using the myth to his and to whose his benefit, that's something to do with trust. If there's a benefit, trust law, he would proclaim that he was the owner of all lands on behalf of Jesus until such time that Jesus would return and he would supposedly hand it all back to him. Biggest lie at all, but I'm not done yet. This just gets better. Move this to the other side. Contained within this, every living creature, including us, man's orders, wink, wink, canon law, the law of contracting that works through fiction, birth certificates, wink, wink. The hint. Let me keep going. This gets better. So it is only the fiction. So to set the stage, we have the Pope at the top of the chain, supposedly owning all the land and everything upon it, and canon law as the script for the play, and the principles of the script to be that the principles of religion, real lives going on, contribute most powerfully to keep the nations in a state or estate passive obedience, including their kings and queens. In being the vicar of Christ, the number one law to be used is the fear of God. Governance Ordinance Department, which is what Boris Johnson is doing this day with his administration. So that gets me warmed up. That gets me nicely warmed up. Very nicely warmed up. Now, I'm going to just pull something up here. I want to find it. I'm going to leave the... Oh, it talks about administration here. Woo! Let's talk about BJ and his administration. So, Trump's administration, Boris Johnson's administration. So, let's find out what administration means. Legal definitions used in law dictionaries. I use law dictionaries. To administer trusts. To do in the act intention to an estate. Interesting. Owner or someone authorized by him or by law in case of his deceased. Probation, wink, wink, I'm dropping the hints. And could legally do. Administration. Remember Boris Johnson's administration, Trump's administration, and so will the Biden, but I don't know if he's going to get in because Trump's challenging his bomber clout anyway. Trust. The management of an estate. Oh, I wonder what they're doing in these courts with these priests sat in the courts. You can see them there, these three priests, and the cleric in front of them. I wonder what they're administrating. Interesting. The management of an estate or interstate or a minor, a lunatic or habitual drunkard or other person, fiction, who is incapable of managing his or own affairs, entrusted to administrator or other trustee by authority of law, in which, in a condensed sense, and which it will be used in this article, administration is the management of an estate. Wink, wink, I'm not done yet, it gets better. Or the state of a testator who at the time administration was granted and had no executor. Now I'm going to stop that little bit there. There's a reason why I'm going to do that, because I want to move on to something else very quickly. This is key here about administration. So now let me get on to the last bit before I shut my mouth and I'll let somebody come in. So let me move on here. Just 1 second. This will take me 2 seconds because this is where it gets better. I'm nearly done, Charles. Me and Charles go through this stuff all the time. Now we got into the issue of what Alan was on about. I'm going to just do this last one little thing and then we can have a little bit more fun. Then we can get into what we're supposed to be doing with all this nonsense, because of all this crap that they're doing. So I'm just going to move here. So we've got assess the Q v trust. Now, remember, I'm just talking about administration. So this is what they're doing with these police when they're offering you these charges. This is what we're dealing with. So also known as a term of life or pure theatric or fire commissioner form of trust, first formed in the 16th century, and I'm giving you the quotes here, under Henry VIII of England, or one or more presumptions, including but not limited to, of one or more person presumes, remember what I've just read about administration, ward, infants, idiots, or lost or abandoned at sea, and therefore assumed dead after 7 years. Additional presumptions by which a trust may be legally formed were added in later statutes, including bankruptcy. Remember what I said about 1213 and bankruptcy, incapacity, mortgages, and private companies. This gets better. This gets better. I'm not done yet, but I will be done. Let me just get into what. Let's get into what's really going to be having fun with. Okay, so we get here. In 1666, Great Fire of London, wink, wink, no, the Pope declared everybody dead. Westminster and the ruling classes passed the infamous Proof of Life Act, also called the Sester V Act, whereby the poor, still going on to this day, and disenfranchised had not proven to Westminster and the courts or municipal Roman temple venues they were alive, were then hence to be declared dead in law, and therefore lost and abandoned, and their property, birth certificates, to be managed in their absence. Oh, this supremely morally repugnant act, which remains in force to this day, is the birth of Monday and the infamous occult rituals in the British Roman temple venues, because I'm not going to call them courts, in wearing black and other paraphernalia and honouring the dead. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. Now, let's have a look at what they were doing, what makes it relevant to what's going on right now. So we'll leave some of the histrionics of it because it's all there, it's all dated. So we'll look at this one. So we'll just chop at this one. By 1850, the bankruptcy of the Crown and the Bank of England by the Red Shield, for the first time, the Sester Trust of the United States, wink, wink, became assets placed in private banks. Oh, interesting. Becoming private trusts, five commissionary trusts, administered Boris Johnson administration. Interesting, isn't it? By commissioners, guardians, parents. From the 1835 and the Wills Act, these private trusts have been considered secret trusts whose existence does not need to be divulged. Woo! Let's keep going. From 1917 to 1918, hence why we had the First World War, the enactment of the Sedition Act and Trading with the Enemy Act in the United States and through the United Kingdom PLC, the citizens of the Commonwealth of the United States effectively became enemies of this state. Hence why you're all going to wars and warfare and all this, and aliens, in which turn converted the five commissionary private secret trusts into foreign citrus trusts or private international trusts. This is key here. This is where it gets really interesting because this is what they've really been up to. In 1931, the Roman cult, also known as the Vatican, created this is key here, the Bank for International, what tell you that, for the control of claimed property associated private central banks around the world. Upon deliberately bankrupting most countries, private central banks, this is key here, were installed as administrators. Ain't that interesting? And the global Sester Trust Fund trust system was implemented from 1933 onwards. Hence what Boris Johnson is doing. Here we go. Since 1933, when a child is born into a state under inferior Roman law, the first Sester trusts were created upon certain presumptions, specifically designed to deny the child. This is what we all are, because we all come from your mums and your dads. You come from your mum's through your dad's seed. We come through the mum's birth canal or maritime. Forever, any rights of real property, any rights as a free person, and any right, this is key here, any rights to be known as a man or woman, that's key, rather than a creature or animal by claiming possession of their soul or spirit. And this is the last bit I want to read because this is what your mum and dad did when you were born. This is where they've got you. Since 1933, upon a new child being born, the executors, remember what I said about administration earlier, the executors or administrators of the higher state willingly and knowingly convert the beneficial entitlements of the child as beneficiary into the first Sester Trust, in which is a form of registry, birth certificate, wink, wink, numbered by registering the name, thereby also created a corporate person, fiction, wink, wink, let's keep going, and denying the child any rights as owner as real property. I'll have a little bit of a stop there because I've just annihilated that construct. I think that's more than enough. More than enough. So that's what the issue is. So if you're dealing with the police, it's commercial charges through the Sester Trust. And therefore, they're only interested in charging your estate. That's where the problem is. We have no common law because the original common law, which I've made reference to before 1213 in the Albion, we had original common law when you had jury of 12 and you had common law and you had lordial title to land. Now you're dealing with freehold and leasehold. Under the bona vacantia, the Jesuits take all the estate when your house gets taken and everything else gets taken. It all goes back to the Pope. This is where the problem is, because indeed, the deeds for these titles are all meaning Latin, they mean renters, because the Lordal titles and fee simple absolute you don't have. So the Lordal titles have been taken, you don't have, and the live born record and the original title you should be having, again, the Vatican have got. And that happens in hospitals. So the same conversion in hospitals is happening with the land in this country as well. So that's why we don't have to deal with Lordal title and you're not talking about estate. And they want to talk to you about legal fictions of birth certificates. You should be talking about estate and we should be talking about Lordal title. That's the issues really going on in this country. The common law functions with your own birthright and your own estate, and the Lordal titles is the proper titles to land where you don't have no easements in front of it, where you've got no postal codes, so the government of the world can't do commerce with you because of the easement in front of your property, because all things have been commercialized because of what happened in 1213. So everything is commercial. There's the difference. So one's commercial, it's commercial, all commercial, and then there was an original common law when you had birthright, you had your own estate, and you had Lordal title. That's the difference between the two. They don't know this stuff, but that's the difference between the two. So there was an original common law with Lordal title and your birthright, and now you've got fictions charging commercial birth certificates and freehold and leasehold on the board of vacantia, and they've got you on the wrong side. So that's where the problem is. That's where the issue is. Right, Alan, where are you? I hope he's back in, because I think that's more than enough to kill everybody to just start off with. So that's why you're dealing with commercial stuff every single time you interface with this system. It's all commercialized. So it's commerce. The original common law is still there, but the Vatican have got those titles and they're not teaching about it. And that's to do with their state. What they've got everybody on is on the illusionary side, which is the commercial side, which is what we've been on about. So I'll stop there, Alan, before I start going off on one, but we can continue on how to deal with them from there. But that had to be explained because that kills any issues with the so-called police and what they're doing. Because Boris Johnson is an administrator and the police are doing administration. They're all doing administration because they're charging your estate. That's where the problem is, and people don't realize what's going on.
Reload that. Well, so thank you. That was mind-blowing in a really good way. So what's it, taking all that into account, bringing it into the typical scenarios that are going on now, what's the best terminology then to use that is correct if we're in this situation with the police?
That's straightforward. That's why we talk about the 3 C's of no comment, no contract, and no consent.
Yeah, so we're back to
they're
that.
only interested, they're only interested in the birth certificate, and you admit to being the fiction, and you're underwriting those bonds which create the fiat, which is what they're charging you for, because the charge is commerce. That's when the police come, we're going to charge you this. Well, it's commercial. If they put you on bail, it's commercial. This is where the problem is, people not realizing this. Every time you have the police document, a contract is commercialized. So the moment you accept the contract, you've already lost. That's why we say no comment, no consent, no contract, for that reason. Because if you get joined with you've admitted to study shorty under that birth certificate, they charge that, and that's what goes to the magistrate's court. And as soon as they do that, you're underwriting those bonds, and that's why they force these issues on you. So that's why you no consent, no comment, no contract. You don't have to give your name, because we've got the case law on this. I'll put it up in a second. It's called Rice versus Connolly. You don't have to give the police such thing as a legal fiction name. You don't have to. We've got the case law on it. So this is why we stick to no comment, no consent, no contract, because they're only interested in charging that birth certificate. And if you don't identify that, you're not underwriting the bonds, therefore they can't charge you, therefore they can't do nothing. And I'll put the case in a second. I'll pull it up. But as first color, you don't have to give me legal fiction name. What they're trying to get you to do is to get you to join to that legal fiction name. So you underwrite those bonds with that SSTQ trust. That goes into the courts, and then the courts claim those fines, and you create that fiat when you underwrite those bonds. So the courts get paid and the police get paid. I exposed all this years ago. I've done a talk on it. It's called under the doctrine of separation of powers, where the state keeps claiming that they're separate. The whole thing is a crock of fraud. No, they're not separate. The executive, legislative, and judicial, they're all in the same bed because of the STQ trust. So therefore, you've got to make sure that you're competent when you're dealing with these stupid, dumbass police, because they don't know, because they only taught procedure. They're not taught anything else. So you can refuse to give your name because it's in case law. You don't have to. I'll bring the case up in a second. So as long as there's no name there and you're not identified by the birth certificate, which is the fiction, you're underwriting the bonds, there's nothing for them to charge. There's no bailment, there's no contract, there's no jurisdiction. They're finished.
The difficult thing is they don't even know that. And there's so many idiot police that think that this shit that they're reciting is actual law, and it isn't actual law. So it's like you're up against stupid versus stupid, and no one, they still think they got the power to arrest you and take you away.
It doesn't matter about the rest. The arrest, I don't care about the rest. The issue is when they're giving you the contract. The rest they can do all. You can sue them after that later on. I'm not bothered about the arrest. The rest is it's all about fear. That's all mind control. The issue is the trick to get you to contract into illegal fiction. That is where the biggest issue keeps coming in. So this is why we keep saying no comment, no contract, no consent. This works because I've had people do it. I've got my friend, he's done it during the coronavirus stuff, and he killed the police. He was out, how long did he arrest him for? Well, what was he in there, about 3, maybe 4 hours, and they couldn't put him on bail, so there was no contract. Could they get his birth certificate? No, they couldn't. Could they charge him? No, they couldn't. What it is they intimidate you and then get you to be a fiction, and then you underwrite the bonds. Now, if you get arrested, I'm saying still no comment, no consent, no contract. You'll see it this. Whereas I might get him to come on because he was on this. I had him on here not long ago, and he explained this perfectly. This was an arrest during this so-called new powers with this so-called coronavirus bill that they've put through, and the principle still stays the same. I think we had Tinky was with us not long ago, and she went through this when the police arrested her. No comment, no consent, no contract, and I think she was in there for how long? Alan, was she in there for? About 3 hours, Alan?
Yeah.
And then they had to release her.
That's all. She didn't agree to anything. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go on. Just tell us what she told us. Go on.
Yeah, I apologise. I've got a few technical problems, so I've been in and out. So I do apologise about that, and I do apologise to my guests as well. She was there for about 3 hours. She didn't consent to anything. It's what they tried to do is, well, another thing what Delroy they do tend to do is they ask you if you understand. They say something to you to try and draw you in to what you were just saying a little while ago, Jeanette, in the sense of that they're trying to win you over. They're trying to get you to understand what they're saying rather than what you are saying. I do not consent. I do not contract to your rules and regulations or your laws or your commerce. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be the living man or the living woman.
Yeah.
And so what they did with Tinky, she just stuck to no consent. And Angie, I think, has done the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And she said at the end, when I asked her to sign something, she said she signed it. I said to her, I wouldn't have signed anything. I just would have just said, stuck with no consent. But Angie turned around and said she wrote across the paper, no consent, no consent, no consent. I said, that's not your signature. So she wrote no consent, no consent. I wouldn't have even done that myself, but I might be wrong. I would have stuck with no consent. I would have signed anything. I would have just not signed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways that you can sign stuff with non-assumption, and I'm very technical with these areas, and you can do stuff like that where you can sign something because they can't force contractors under Unidra. All contract is voluntary. So if the police are beating you up under the threat of force, which is a violation of contract anyway, because all contracts are voluntary, so they can't force you. If they're beating you up and they're threatening you, then and this is if they're not threatening you, then don't touch anything. But if they're threatening you and they've got a taser at you and all this nonsense, and they start being abusive, then the only thing you left her is again, just write on the don't write illegal fiction in with the no circumstances. You just write no contract, because under Unidra law they can't force contract. You just tell them you can't force my contract, so you just write no contract. A 45 degree angle, going left to right, right, no contract right through where the line is, just right, no contract at 45-degree angle, because 45 means 9 and 9 means death. And it means death to them. So that's what you do. You don't consent. You just write no contract at a 45-degree angle going up. If that's if they're beating you up. If they're not beating you up and they're not threatening you, then you just be quite honest with them and say, I'm not consenting. I'm not contracting with you. I'm not doing business. But if they're beating you up and they've got tasers at you and that kind of nonsense and it gets desperate, then you just write no contract across the top. And then what you do is when you sue them, you sue them and you take it to the Crown Court, and then you do under Article 6, you've got a right to face your accusers, and you sue them and then you bring up the issue of how they forced you fraudulently into a contract, and then you use the evidence, that so-called bail sheet, as evidence, and you ask for the recordings. Now, if they don't have the recordings, of when you're arrested, then you write a testimony against them and you get them to come into court. And if they don't turn up to court, you get the judge to rule in your favor. So if they turn up into court under Article 6, then they've got to testify. And after lying the testimony, then you've got them finished. You can prod and put them. So that's quite easy. So you can sue the police. That's you do it the other way around. You sue them under their Home Office codes, which I've got, and I'll show them in a minute. But you need to be in a position whereby if they arrest you, I don't consent. We're arresting you anyway. I don't consent. I still arrest you. We'll use force. It don't make no difference. I still don't consent. I'll just get in their face. Be in their face. So I do that all the time. I just get in their face. I've never been arrested, but get in their face. You don't have to be aggressive, but be very clear. Don't consent. They'll take you to the station thinking that you're going to buckle underneath. Still don't consent. No contract. They'll take you in front of the sergeants and ask you for your fiction name. No contract. If we're in a cell, no consent, no contract, no comment. Anything to do, no consent, no contract, no comment. To take you for interview, no consent, no contract, no comment. All the way through, no consent, no contract, no comment. All the way through. I don't care what you said. No consent, no contract, no comment. You coming at me with big ass attitude, with cuffs. Don't give a shit. No consent, no contract, no comment. So then all that's going to happen is they can hold you at most. And this is without me using the Home Office, because I'm more clever. I use their Home Office codes against them. The most they can hold you for, even with terror laws, is I think it's 72 hours, and then they've got to apply to a magistrate. And again, you can kill the magistrates under the same thing either. So 72 hours the most they can hold you for. They'll have to release you then, and then all you need to do is draft your own claim against them, put that into the Crown Court, and then sue them under Article 6, under the European Convention, and under Declaration of Rights of 48. For Article 9, it's arbitrary determinant. It's violation of Article 6 for Declaration of Rights of 48 as well, by involuntary servitude and try to hold you into slavery. There's a couple of them. I've got them. I'll show you in a minute. I've come on to the teeth of it. So you can sue them regardless of what they're saying. So, and all you have to do is no consent, no comment, no contract, no consent. And the thing you should be asking the police for, if you're arrested, you should be asking them for that, what's called and I've got evidence of this as well, because I'll show you their warrant card, which has got their details on, and that's all you need to do. Get their names and then sue them, because they're all doing commercials, so they've got bonds. So you can sue them and take their bond off them instead of your bond underwriting their crap. But that's what you need to do. But yeah, no comment, no consent, no contract, all the way through. I don't care if you arrest me, no comment, no consent, no contract. Everybody I know that's done this, my friend Amanda's done it, she killed the police. Tinky's done it, killed the police. Angie's done it, killed the police. My friend T's done it this year with the corona, killed the police, kills them all the time. They'll try everything. No comment, no consent, no contract, all the way through. Works every time. I'm going to pull up Rice versus Colin in a second as well, just to show you that you don't have to give me your name. But I normally quote this to them, Rice versus Colin. It's in case law. I don't have to give you such thing as a name, and I quote the case to them. But I'll pull it up in a second, because I've got the evidence to prove what I'm saying. It's all in case law, so they can't argue it.
Dale, let me come in a second if I can. Can you hear me?
I'm listening to you. Go ahead. I'm just getting the case up.
Jeanette, I can't hear you. Can you say something?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm having problems tonight, so I do apologise about it. I know Dale goes 100 miles an hour, and he's brilliant at what he does, and he knows it backwards. And I'll come back to you in a minute, Sandy. I know you had your hand up, but what I'm trying to say to you is that there's a lot going on here. You know, what I was trying to do with you was the basics. If once you're confronted by the police, is that you just don't give them any consent, and you stick to your don't say nothing, don't have any information on you or anything like that. If you're going to go to these events, then you've got to go prepared for what draconian measures they might use against you, and might entrap you in one way, shape, or form, and to try and to get you to come on site and to draw you in. Delroy goes really into a lot of stuff here, and it's knowing the history of it as well, and the history of it is quite relevant and important, because I mean Charles and Delroy are absolutely superb at this stuff, and I recommend anybody that listen to Delroy's show on a Tuesday night. He's absolutely brilliant, Jeanette.
Yeah, no, I will.
So much more from Delroy than you would do. You can go on YouTube and you can see the videos of John Smith and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, Delroy's been doing this a very long time. I'm only a newbie at this, but what I'm doing is I'm getting better all the time and I'm picking it up. But it's confusing with everything that's going on, and it's knowing the full facts. Sandy, you did want to come in. Can I just bring Sandy in, because he did want to say something? He had his hand up there a while ago. Sorry, Sandy.
Need to unmute, Sandy.
Sandy, you're muted.
Sorry there. I get in a thing from Police Scotland with my name, my address, all in capital letters.
Go up a bit. Right. Oh no, you can't. Don't want to show it. Yeah,
right.
Oh, yeah.
So say that, yeah. See if I can get it. That's for Police Scotland. And I don't know if that's it. But anyway, it's got all my name, my address, everything, all in capital letters. They're saying that I was doing 42 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. Now, the bit that's got me is you have been named, right? I've been named as being the driver of the new, right, of the vehicle. Right, go on to this wee bit anyway, it pissed me off. Hi, you are required, and the required is all in capitals, right? Now, if I turn this over the back to fill it in, this is a declaration, right? So I've got to sign my name, address, blah, blah, blah. The declaration. This statement is true to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I make it known that, sorry, I'll read that again, sorry. This statement is true to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I make it known that it is a tender and evidence I shall be liable to prosecution if I have willfully stated in anything which I know to be false or do not believe to be true. So I've got to sign that saying that yes, I am, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to sign it.
They're trying to get me to say that yes, I was, and yes, so in other words,
you can rebut it.
Yes, once I put my name to that, then I'm admitted to liability. How do I stand there?
I would sign it myself. That you've got it all in. To me, you could turn around and say, I wouldn't. That letter isn't you. You could turn around and say that isn't me. That's not me. That I'm not that person you're saying I am. Right? I wasn't born with my name in capitals. Right? You could turn around and say that is not me. I'm not that person. I could refuse to be that person. I had this problem myself, and I had to go along with the lines of I signed it and I filled it all in, blah 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 blah, and I put Alan Philip of the family Merritt. So I put CLC, Common Law Court, and I use my name as family Merritt, Alan Philip of the family Merritt. Jeanette could turn around and say Jeanette, whatever her middle name might be, of the family Archer. Right, so you're using your CLC, your common law, right, and you can use. And there's so much to it, and Delroy can go in and talk further into it. Jeanette wants to come in now, and then I'll let Delroy say something in answer to Sandy. He's going to come back.
It's only quick because Sandy, I got exactly the same letter this week saying that I was doing 40 in a 30 zone, all in capitals. Exactly that letter that Sandy's just held up. I got exactly the same one this week.
And you'll find what happened as well, that you'll get them addresses coming from PO boxes. The letters are fraudulently sent to you anyway. So you're coming into the realm of sort of the Postmaster General and the Universal Postmaster in Bern in Switzerland. So now they can be reported for that as fraud. As Delroy is saying, it's coming to what Delroy is saying, they're talking about commerce. It's a money-making machine. Delroy.
Yeah, I'm just here, just going to show you this before I jump in on that. So just to back up my position of no consent, no contract, and that you don't have to give you the police your name, we've got it in case law here, so we can kill the police. It's quite easy. It's not hard. Not everybody struggles with this stuff. It's straightforward, to be honest with you. It's quite easily done. Rights versus Connolly. If you've got, if I've got your emails, and send it if you want to read it. But I'll just put it up. So Rights versus Connolly is an important part of case law, which limits the scope of the police use the term of obstruction, and has been thus. Because again, the Swiss try to say obstruction if you got to give your name, but it's not. Has thus been set in English law. You cannot be convicted. And listen, and this is key, or charged, which is commercial, with obstruction or refusing to do something which you possess the legal right to refuse not to do. That's key there. So you've got the legal right to refuse, which you can in commerce. This is why I know it's commercial, because in contract, in commerce, commercial law, all law in contract law is voluntary. So therefore, you can refuse it, but you've got to know how to refuse it correctly and with a counterclaim in commerce, so therefore they can't mess you about. And this is key here. So you can't refuse to do something, and this is why I'm saying you can refuse to give them your legal fiction for your birth certificate. So here we go. This is the background of the case. And if you put your emails in the chat, in our chat here, Jeanette, I'll email it to you if you want. In fact, I'll email the police, Home Office calls as well, that I'm also going to read from as well. You'll find those intriguing. The police were investigating a serious break-ins the night they saw Rice behaving suspiciously in the early hours of the morning. So keep in mind, we talk about criminals, crime here, because obviously it's breaking property, stealing, whatever. So this property, so it becomes criminal, not civil. They therefore stopped him and asked him, listen, for his name, birth certificate fiction, and address. And then asked him to accompany him to a police box to confirm his identity. Remember, it says on the birth certificate not to be used as identification, Crown copyright. Wink, wink, I'm dropping the hints. Rice refused. He was arrested, just like you're on about, just like the dude John Corona and all this nonsense. He was arrested for obstruction and convicted. But listen, convicted by the magistrate's court. Wink, wink, because that's how they work down there, because they're a bunch of fraudsters down there, because they're just after the birth certificate. And then again on appeal to the Grimby's court, and it shouldn't have been in magistrate's court, because if it's criminal, that's the other thing as well. But let me finish this bit and I'll explain that. Again, to appeal to the Grimsby's Quarter Sessions. He then appealed by case stated in the matter to the Divisional Court. His appeal was upheld and his conviction was quashed. This judgment of the Divisional Court in upholding his appeal. Now, I was just going to say, the difference is with the police when you're in charge. What the police are doing fraudulently, this is something that they don't tell you about that you should know about and be aware of. We will know this is the issue of civil and criminal. If it's a criminal matter and they're telling you it's a crime, you should never, ever, ever, ever be in a magistrate's court under no circumstances. Should never be in a magistrate's court. If it's a crime, corpus delicti, actus rea, mens rea, an injured party. That means it must go to a Crown court. What the police are doing fraudulently and in the bed sucking the magistrate's dicks with it is they're trying criminal statutes and civil matters, and they shouldn't be. This is where the problem is. It's where the real problem is. Criminal statutes are being used in civil matters. That's why if it's going to magistrate's court, and it shouldn't be. It should be, if it's criminal, it should be straight to Crown. This is where the problem is. She should never, ever, ever be living man. If it's a criminal matter, should never, ever be in a magistrate. That's where the problem is. So let me make that one very clear as well. So let's look at this. The judgment turned on the meaning of the word willfully in the obstruction charge, commerce. Remember, commerce. it was deemed to mean without the lawful excuse, and the judges then considered whether Rice had a lawful excuse for refusing to give his name, which is not his name, it's the Crown's name, and to go to the address box with the police. They decided he did because of the legal right to silence. Wink, wink. That's why I say no comment, not silence. No comment is silence. It's easier to explain by reading the following. It is clear that the appellant, which is Rice appealing, not the defendant, trustee of an estate, was making it more difficult for the police to carry out their duties. And we can make it difficult for them dickheads because they're idiots. And that the police at the time and throughout were acting in accordance with their duties. Bollocks. The only remaining element of the alleged offence, and the one which, in my judgment, this case depends on, is whether the obstruction of which the appellant was guilty of willful obstruction. Willful, in this context, in my judgment, means not only intentional, but also connotes something which is done without lawful excuse. According to the sole question, here is whether the appellant had a lawful excuse for refusing to answer the questions put to him. In my judgment, he had. In my judgment, he had. So that's, please can't ask for your name. It seems to me quite clear that through every citizen, I wouldn't class myself as a citizen, man or woman, has a moral duty, or if you like, a social duty to assist the police. There is no legal duty to that effect. Indeed, the whole basis of common law is the right of the individual to refuse to answer questions put to him by persons in authority, and they're not an authority, and refuse to accompany those to authority to a particular place or short in course. So there you go. So the police, you can, no comment, no consent, no contract, because that proves it's in case law. Silence is no consent. Silence is no comment. So you can use that to police. So you can refuse to give your name. You don't have to give your name. And the Crown birth certificate says not to use as identification. Crown copyright. It's not yours. So don't identify yourself by it. So I'll stop there and let somebody else come in before I get carried away again.
So basically, Jeanette, when we talk about common law, some people go back to Magna Carta and that, okay, that is there. But this Rice v. Connolly is common law. It's case law, lawful precedent in law, common law for everybody to use in their defence. That's how you win court cases. We try and say to Tinky and Angie with their children's cases, if you know what I mean, that are forthcoming. It's no use having 500 pages saying you cry every night, missing your child, because the judge will go, oh, I feel sorry for you. And they'll, oh, I'm sorry, I've got my glasses. Oh, I'm with you. Oh, but then he'll go, but. Then he'll use acts and statutes to undermine you, if you know what I mean, sort of thing. But if you use case laws like this Rice v. Connolly, and there is some in the situation cases, you quote them and you're putting it into that judge, you have to base my case on, like this one, Rice v. Connolly. And he looks at the case, he has to grant it, The judge cannot overrule Rice and Connolly because it's law. Judges have made law. Parliament did not make laws, they make rules. It's judges who make laws when people fetch their cases into the court and he has to decide, the judge, sort of thing, high up, and then it makes case law a lawful proceeding in law, common law. Right. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, no, I'm understanding all of it. And thing is, the last time I came on, I got the whole sort of the basics and the, you know, the foundation, and I've just been sort of adding to it and trying to learn more as I go along. So this has taken me up even more levels now. So grateful for all of this, because I learn quickly, but this is so completely new to me. Alan's been helping me, you know, learn more and everything. The one burning question I've got is, at what point then when you've got the police that are so ignorant to all this because they don't even know this shit themselves, and then they act in a way how they've been programmed to act, at what point then does it all fall apart? As in, you know, would that be if they did try and take you to court, or when they did try and fine you? At what point do our rights then come in and their shit just is powerless?
It's already powerless from the get-go because the ruling's already there. You don't have to give you such thing as a name. If you've not committed any crime, and you haven't committed any crime, you're at a protest, you've not breached the peace, you're at a protest. You don't have committed, as long as there's no injured party, no harm, no loss, as long as you haven't injured another man or woman, there's no crime. This is why I said to you earlier when I said, what it is, people are not aware of the difference between civil and criminal. What the police are doing fraudulently, what they're not telling you, is they're trying civil matters under criminal statutes. They're not allowed. This is where the problem is. They're not allowed to do that.
I know they're not allowed, but they still do, don't they? They still do.
But the case law means, this is why Charles said what he said, this is why the case law means that they can't overrule the case that's set. So the police can't tell you can't use that case. They're not allowed to tell you that. If they tell you that, they're breaching their thing, and then you sue them anyway. You've got a right to use case law. This is what they're scared of. It's because people don't know this stuff. So my point is that police can't force you to use a fictional name that's not yours. If you refuse to do so, you can refuse. You've got the case law there. I'll put your email in the thing and I'll send it to you so you can use it whenever you want. So therefore, if they try to say that you're doing something that's not lawful, you can. If they argue that, then they say that's fine. Let's take it to Crown Court, not magistrates. Remember what I said, because it's criminal matter, because you're the injured party now. There's a corpus delicti. This is why I talk about civil and criminal. So now it's going to go to Crown Court. You're going to be able to use that case saying the police said I had to use legal fiction name and I didn't want to consent and I have my right to remain silent, which is why I didn't make no comment. And the judge will have to rule and say, yes, that's correct. And it kills the police's charge. Police can't force it, can they? Because the case has already set the precedent. So the judge rules in your favor, not in the dumbass police.
Yeah.
They can't do that. The police will try to trick you and try to force you into magistrate's court where they do what they want. That's why I showed you that case, because in Magi's they do what they want. This is why I'm saying people don't understand the difference between civil and criminal. That's why I said with magistrates is a crock of fraud. As a woman, you shouldn't be in Magi. You should be at Crown. So if the police have said you've committed a crime, that's why I talked about corpus delicti. I said actus rea, mens rea, injured party. The true elements of a crime. If the police are charging, that's commerce. So what are you doing in magistrate's court to try to charge you? That's where the people go wrong. Because there's a difference between civil and criminal. If it's criminal, you've got to put me in. I need to know the nature of the cause of the charge. If that's the case, if it's criminal, it needs to go to Crown Court. If they say it's civil, then you just Rice versus Connolly, right to remain silent. Rice versus Connolly, it's already there. The case has been ruled on. You don't have to answer none of their questions. You don't have to give no name, nothing, consent, no contract, no comment. They said, we're going to take it to magistrate's court. No, I'm not going to the magistrate's court. It's a criminal matter. If it's criminal, it has to be in Crown. If they do the what's his name? If they try to take it to civil court, you don't have to go off because the case law is overruled. Has already been ruled on. So therefore, all you need to do is put the case there that I've given you. That's it. Because they can't rule against that case. So they can't force your hand because the case has already been ruled on. That's why I showed you the case. That's why I showed you the case in when it's in magistrates court, how the corrupt they are, and it went up to the correct jurisdiction, and they agreed that he had the right to do that. But the police and the magistrates are in the same bed. The key thing is, if you're not consenting in the first place, you don't commit no contract, and you use the case law, the police can't charge you. Therefore, they can't put it in magistrates. It's as simple as that. You'll be released in 3 hours. I used to get people to do this all the time. This is whether or not you're competent and not being scared of joining with the police. This is the issue. If you're doing what we've said and you're doing it correctly and you're not being aggressive with the police and you just said no comment, no consent, no contract, you can't force no contract on me, you're not allowed. Right, so I don't have to give you such thing as a name. That's it. Outside that, no comment, no consent, no contract. They'll try to come in. I told you what they'll do. They'll send sergeants in. They'll try and intimidate you. No comment, no consent, no contract. All the way through 3 hours, 4 hours. No comment, no consent, no contract. It's easily done. That's why you have to stick to. It's nice, quick, and simple. Oh, we're going to take you this, we're going to take that. I don't consent. Anything you use, I'll be using evidence against you. Rice versus Connolly. I don't have to give you such thing as a name. I've told you that. No comment, no consent, no contract. Nice, simple, easy. Stick to it. Then you'll be released within a couple of hours. Everybody who's done this properly that I know, we've got people who've done this and we should get them on here to testify to it. Tinky's done it, Jojo's done it, my friend T's done it. This is during the coronavirus nonsense, and they was out within 3 hours. Most people out within 3 to 4 hours if they use this method. And the police can't put them on bail, they can't charge them. My friend T, he said, no, I'm not accepting your bail, no, none of it. Not accepted to none of your jurisdiction at all. That to release him, couldn't do it. There was no charge, there was no commerce, couldn't go after the birth certificate, there was fine. So that's what you need to stick to. You need to keep your nerve. The issue is keeping your nerve and not joining with these dickheads. Now, I'm going to put something up here that you're going to find interesting. I will email you. This is what I tend to be a lot more technical with them because I can quote stuff off my head like without thinking about it. One thing I get the police to do when I interact with them is the first thing I do is I ask them for their what's called their warrant card, and their home office code under Rule 0.17. I can quote it clearly states on there you have to have your warrant card to show you're lawfully here as a police officer. Because I know it's all commerce, you get me. So what do you mean warrant card? See, and I've seen it because my friend who's in the Met showed me as I've seen it. So that they exist. I've seen them. I've held one, so they exist. So you have to have your warrant card to prove you're police. Otherwise, you're impersonating. What do you mean you're impersonating? Do your home office calls? You are duty bound. Produce your warrant card under Rule 1.17 or 1.17. Yeah, 1.17. You need to produce your warrant card. That's why I get into that. I force them into their home office because I'm going to put them up in a minute. Then once I've seen their warrant card, I then drop the next one on them. Right. So Rule 0.12 is you can't abuse your position. I've committed no crime. I've not harmed nobody. You cannot abuse your position. That's Rule 0.12. Now he's trying to speak to me to try and engage me in some kind of contract and commercial contract. Now, with your home office, because I just thought I'll remind you of Rule 1.14, and it clearly states as you as a police officer, you're not allowed to make false and dishonest statements when you deal with the public. You can't accuse me of a crime because at the end of the day, I've got the right to face my accuser. If a crime's already happened, it's already taken place, therefore it should be in a Crown Court, and it should be able to face the man or woman who I've harmed. You can't accuse me of a crime. That's not it's not appropriate because you're making a false and dishonest statement. Because if the crime happened, it's already taken place. Therefore, you weren't there if it's happened. So I don't need to get involved in any investigations that you're talking about. No consent, no comment, no contract. If you do anything to me, it's an abusive position under Rule 0.12, and anything that comes out of your anything that comes out of your mouth, I'm gonna record it down, and I'm gonna use it against you because you're making a false and dishonest statement when you're dealing with people in the public. You're making a false and dishonest statement. You've got no evidence of committed a crime. So what you're saying is a false and dishonest statement, and that's what I use against them. But I'm gonna show you because I can quote from them.
Just a quick one, Dale. What are you doing there, Jeanette?
That's Rule 0.14, and I think Rule 0.13, they've got to and Rule 0.13. By the way, while you're in the public with us, you must act with honesty and integrity when you're in the public with us. So that's your rules under your home office codes, which govern you, because the home office is your boss. Under Rule 0.13, you must act with honor and honesty and integrity when you're dealing with members of the public. So you can't accuse them of a crime because that would mean you're being dishonest. So that's how I get them. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull them up in a second because I've got them handy. They're already here. So let me just find them as I've got them here. And I'll say again, I'll email you this. If you got your emails in the chat, I'll email you them. You can have it. I've got all the evidence. I'll email you this stuff. It's all here. So let me just pull it up now. It's all here.
It'd be interesting for you, Janet, to get these emails.
I've just sent Dara my email address.
Yeah, brilliant. Good girl. And Sandy.
Well, Sandy, you'll have it in a second once I finish. Right. So this is key here. So I'm just going to find this out. So you clearly see here that that again the police come under the Secretary of State and they come under the Home Office. It's very clear here. So this is how they deal with the police in terms of what they're doing. So no comment, no consent, no contract. You stick to that. And if you want to be really clever, you can start. This explains to you how the police have got delegated authority. It explains how the police how they behave themselves. It talks about their performance. Everything you need to know about the police is in here. That the delegated authority, everything you need to know about police is in here. How they deal with the police and everything, the reform acts, it's all in here. Now, I'm going to read how the police, in fact, it even talks, even if you sue the police, it tells you what the police officer is supposed to do, their procedures, how they can have a police friend. It's all in here, how police are supposed to work, right? So, you know, the police friend, it tells you what they can do, what they can't do. It's all in here. You need to read it at length. Now, I want to get to one particular point in this because this just shows you. Here we go. This is key here. This is why I talk about the 3 C's. So I'll read it. Public confidence in the police is crucial in a system that rests on the principle of policing by consent. Wink, wink. Here where your 3 C's coming. I'm going to read that again. Public confidence in the police is crucial in a system that rests on the principle of policing by consent. Woo! That's where 3 C's come in. Confidence in the police depends on police officers demonstrating the highest level of personal and professional standards of behavior. The standards set below reflect the expectation that the police service, that's commercial, and the public have how police should behave. They are not intended to describe every situation, but rather than set a framework in which everyone can easily understand. I won't stand under, but I'll certainly overstand it. They enable everybody to know what type of conduct by a police officer is acceptable and what is unacceptable. That's key, what is not acceptable, because that's what I tell them. These standards should read and apply in regards to this guidance. And it just says here, this is the stuff that you use. I've got these codes if you want them. So you've got the, it says European Convention on Human Rights, which you've got to expect. They've got to respect that. The Council of Europe Code on Police Ethics, they've got to respect that. Reply to all police. I've got those if you want them, by the way. Apply to all police officers, listen, of the ranks from Chief Constable to the Constable to Special Constables and all those subject to suspension. So this applies across the board to any police. So don't tell it, don't lie for all of them. It applies to all of them. So don't think they're exempt. No, they're not exempt, dickheads. They're not exempt at all. Now, let me just run out on a particular set of standards I want. It's this one. Here we go. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see it, and then I'm going to make sure it's here. 1 minute. Get that back up there. I don't want it down. I want it back up. Let me get this up. Because that's Charles on there with his thing. Why does it keep going small when it should be like this? I need to move this down so it's here so we can see it. Okay. So we need to move to the next page. Here we go. So this is what I quoted. So let's see how good my memory is. So rule point 1.2, police officers are honest and act with integrity and do not compromise or abuse their position. That's what I said 1.12 about abusing their position. Rule point 1.13. Here we go. And I've more or less quoted this. I might not quote word for word, but I'm close. Police officers act with integrity and are open and truthful in their dealings with the public, so they can't lie, and their colleagues, so that confidence in the police service is secured and maintained. So they have to be truthful with it. They can't be dishonest. So they can't lie and say rights versus colony doesn't apply. They're not allowed to lie. Officers, and this is where you get them when they try to accuse of a crime. Police officers do not knowingly make any false, misleading, inaccurate oral, that's verbal, oral, or written statements or entries in any record or document kept in made or connection with any police activity. That's where you've got them. They can't accuse you of a crime. That is a false and dishonest statement. They're not allowed to accuse you of a crime. That's where you've got them, straight hands down. They're supposed to be truthful with you, so therefore they can't make that's where you clap them up. This is why I beat them up all the time. It's quite straightforward. I don't know why everyone finds the police to scare the police. I don't know why we're all scared. And again, here you go. I said 1.170. See, look, police officers never use their warrant card to gain unauthorized advantage, financial or otherwise. That could give rise to the impression that the police officer is abusing his or her position. A warrant card is only to confirm identity or express authority. There you go. So that's why I ask them for their warrant card. So that's what you should be asking them for. And this is another thing here. 1.18. Police officers act with self-control and tolerance. I don't know where we're supposed to be seeing this stuff. Treating members of the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy. You just jam them up. I could jam them all day long with this stuff. You get me? I could jam them all day long with this stuff. So this is what you need to sue the police on. If they harm you, this is you take the case to the Crown Court, you use this, and you use the European Convention, and you use the Declaration of Rights of 1948. I'm going to pull them out because I've got them all. And you need to sue the police using all this stuff and put a testimony in, because this is where you get them, because this is what they're not allowed to abuse. And people don't read this stuff.
I love it. I deal with it.
Let me see. And again, this is.
I love that bit with Del Boy, Bumper Clark Boris.
Bumper Clark idiot.
I love Del.
Come on, I'm loving this. Carry on.
But the little thing that Delroy was saying a little while ago is when we're talking about police officers and police constables, you turned around earlier on and said something very poignant. They don't know their fucking own rules, their own fucking rank, and they don't know what they're doing themselves. Half the time. They don't know if they're a police officer or a police constable. You said, what are you, a police officer or a police constable? You'd have to think twice about what he actually is.
No, they're clueless, but we know, so we just apply the math. We apply the math to them. So again, police officers do not, under any circumstance, and this is where you get them, inflict, instigate, or tolerate any act of inhumane or degrading treatment as enshrined of Article 3 in the European Convention, which I'll pull up in a second, because they shouldn't be beating people up. And this is for people who have not harmed anybody. So long as you haven't beaten nobody up and you haven't harmed nobody, then you've not committed no crime. The police are not allowed to actually touch you. It's called breach of the peace. So long as you haven't committed a breach of the peace, you're not harmed nobody, then the police have no right to go anywhere near you. And people don't realize this. So I had to deal with them in the train station. She touched me. I'm like, get your hands off me. You have to get dealt with, stupid dumbass idiot. I had to do 2 of them recently. Don't put your hands on me. I telling me I won't let them go anywhere near me. Stupid muppets. Where are we going with this? I want to go to there's a certain section I wanted to go to.
I'll bring you in a minute, Sandy. I'll bring you in a minute.
It's certain ones I wanted to pull up. Certain ones. I mean, all these are brilliant, but it's the certain ones I want to pull up because of stuff that you've been talking about tonight. Again, this is another one. Well, police officers only use force to the extent where it's necessary, proportionate. That's the key word there, proportionate and reasonable at the time of circumstances. And this is where you see seen abuse because they don't do that. They use it to try and enforce contract. This is where you need to get them. If you have committed no crime, they've got no right to make an arrest, and they've got no right to be harming you. They've got no right. It's only when you committed a crime, and this is what you should be quoting them with. This is why I keep using this stuff. There will be occasion where effect an arrest or prevent others from harm. That's criminal. It tells you right there, others from harm. That's criminal. So that's the only time they should be involving themselves with you. And I mean, so I've got your email, so that I just wanted to read some of this stuff because this makes it very clear what the police are supposed to do and what they're not allowed to do. But it's about people suing them. So what I'll do now is I'll stop because I know Sandy's desperate to get in. And again, if so I've got your emails, I'll email this to you anyway, so you can go through and read it. But here you go. So I'll just stop again because I know I've been yapping for a while.
Go on, Sandy. You want to say something?
Yeah, has the police got powers to ban you from getting into a city centre? I'll tell you why. It was a friend of mine a couple of weeks back there. It was a protest we were doing in Glasgow. And no reason, the police come around and they handcuffed him. Never gave a reason, handcuffed him, put him in the van, took him away to Govan police station, locked him up. But again, no comment, no blah, so on. They kept stating that. They did let him out with no charges, but the police have banned him from getting into Glasgow city centre. Have they got the power to do that? You know, can the police stop you from getting into a city centre? Because
they're not stopping you, they're stopping your fiction. If they've got an order on you, that means you've accepted a contract, haven't you? That's where the issue is. He's accepted a contract somewhere because they've got an order on him. So whatever it is they've said that they've banned him from, he's admitted to being illegal fiction. They've put an order and they've got him into contract into the fiction. Then they've got a judge to make that order, and that order's been signed, and that's what they're enforcing. If you don't consent no contract in the first place, there's no order because they haven't made an order because they can only make one through consent. The issue is he's consented somewhere and they've got to join him with him and he's agreed to a contract. Somewhere, I don't know whereabouts, you'd have to speak to him at length, but somewhere he's agreed to a contract and that's what they're enforcing through the magistrate's court. Because they won't have gone to Crown Court for that, they've gone to magistrate's court for it.
Sandy, can I just come in there? Sandy, they haven't got you through AMPR, have they?
Pardon?
Have they got your details through AMPR?
No, this was a friend of mine in Glasgow the other week.
No. You said to me you got a letter about doing 42 miles an hour.
Oh, yes.
So you got an AMPR, didn't you?
It was what happened. The letter comes through. It's James
Carta.
Carta.
Yeah, but you've got a photograph taken of your vehicle. So they've got your information for that camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they've got your information. That's how they've got your address. That's how they've got your fiction.
I see the letter at first went to Jane. and they wanted to know who the driver was. Jane says, of course, it was me. Gave them my address. Jane gave them my address. So now they've sent me this letter. But as I say on the back, on this thing, the declaration part.
You only consent when you reply to any letter that's sent to an address. That address is sent to your home address, all in capitals. You could rebuff that, like Charles showed earlier on, when he got a letter where everything was just, this is not me. He wrote, this is not me. If it's a PO box number, they always touched on this tonight about commerce, about making money out of Joe Public, right? If you accept everything they say and do, they will win hands down and you become what they want you to be. You don't become that free person that you claim you want to be. If you agree to anything they say, and they sometimes try to, when you're, do you understand? And you think, well, I'm not sure, or can you explain that to me? Don't get involved in a conversation with them, because half the time you're going to lose when you get involved in a conversation. You just do not go down that road. You do not, you just not, they want to control you. They want to win you over. They want to get you ruled to their way of thinking. And in the end, you're probably going to say, oh, well, yes, officer, no, officer, 3 bags for officer. Then you're agreeing to everything they say.
Into their jurisdiction, it's called.
Into their jurisdiction. Well said, Charles.
But I'll say to Jeanette and Sandy, who was the injured party? For a crime to happen, there's got to be an injured party. So who was the injured party? Men's rear and the other rear.
You can argue that no loss, harm or injury, even in like the speeding ticket shit that me and Sandy just got.
Who was the injured party? To be a crime, there has to be an injured party. So they're going to say the speed camera. Well, the speed camera can't speak. It's not a human being. It can't come into court and speak against you when you ask under Article 6 to fetch the witnesses into court.
It's a money-making machine. It's part of their commerce. It's
But
part
for
of
a crime, there has to be an injured party.
It's like the same we was talking earlier on and touching on, you're the registered keeper of a vehicle. If they want to clamp that vehicle, if they want to tow that vehicle away, they can do whatever they like with their vehicle, because you turn around and say, yeah, I spent 10 grand on that vehicle, more for you because you're only the registered keeper. And they can do what they like with that because you've accepted everything what we've been talking and everything we touched on tonight. You're accepting everything what we've been talking about tonight. You become what they want you to do. They've drawn you in.
So legally the vehicle belongs to the DVLA?
Well,
Yes.
Registered keeper.
Oh, well, we'll need to pay my fine.
Right, I'll tell you what, Sandy, a quick one. Somebody got the same, this and another, and he told the police, not me, go after the owner, which is the DVLA and all this. And they gave up with him, but that's one-off or whatever. Because I'm just the keeper. Go after the owner.
If you get the envelope to the letter that was sent to you, yeah, but if you look on the front of that envelope, you'll notice some probably red or orange dotted lines right across the face of that envelope. That is where the fraud comes into it by a franking machine. A franking machine is fraudulent. It's about commerce. It's all about making money. It's nothing to do. It's like PO boxes, like we've said, are all to gain money, to get money from you. It's fraudulent. It's why sell stamps in this post office, right? If you're going to do away with them stamps by using a franking machine.
Right.
So therefore, in fiction, they've got this guy called Oliver Durden. He doesn't know he's the Postmaster General. It's a name or a title he's been given as a role. Okay, I know they call it nowadays in many jobs, what's the word I'm looking for? Multi-skilled or you're doing more jobs than one. Right? So he's not just an MP, he's the Postmaster General, as in writing only. He doesn't know the first thing about, he won't get involved in the UPU. If he can help it, he doesn't want to go over it, because this country signs up to treaties. It's always one of the first countries in the world to sign up to any agreements and any charters or any treaties. 9 times out of 10, we are one of the first, if not the first. And we put them all out there. It's the same as the 1948 Human Rights Act, and Tony Blair tried to change them in 1998. It was Tony Blair that tried to change the human. He couldn't do it. It's exactly the same, word for word. He might have changed the brochure. He might have tried to change some of it, but word for word, it's exactly the same as what it was in 1948.
Yeah, but getting back to that speeding thing. So, more or less, speeding isn't a crime, no less there's been someone hurt. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes. There's no one, but who's the injured party? Like Charles has said, is there an injured party? Is there a victim?
Yeah, so so more or less what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't matter what speed you're going at, that can't be classed as a crime, no less say that I've hurt someone. Oh.
What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, don't go down the road at 100 miles an hour, right, when you get into your car next time. I'm not saying go and do it. What I'm saying to you at the end of the day is, if you look at the way they've gone about it, the way they've addressed you as that person, is that you, that said person, is that you? Did you hurt anybody? What is it all about? It's all about, you know, the government's not giving certain people money anymore. They've got to find other ways of making it. And it's all gone to private companies now. Private companies are running these, and they're running it at money-making exercises.
Yeah, because it's a private company that caught me seemingly in a camera.
They're all private companies now. It's all, like Delroy and Charles have touched on many a time when we've talked about this subject. It's all about commerce and money and banks and fraud and corruption and the people being suppressed into whatever they want us to be. You know, we have rights. You know, this face mask malarkey, you know, that's discrimination. I don't care what anybody says. You can't turn around to one person and say you should be wearing a mask, because if you turn around and call somebody else, you're discriminating against them. So you're in the Discriminations Act, or whatever the case might be. If you're going to put these things out there and sign up to them, then you've got to adhere to them. Charles.
Perhaps Delroy will answer it now.
I'm just going to say something. At 9 o'clock, we've got 2 girls coming on after me. Adele and Kimberly, absolutely fantastic campaigners. They're starting a new show tonight, so we've got to give them their backing and tell them they can pop on any time they like from now. And we just hope them all the success and anything they need. I'm sure that we're only going to be there to back them up. So, you know, hope you have a good show tonight after us, girls, and you can come on whenever you want. But I want Del to probably close up in a bit and say some of the highlight and some of the things we've been talking about. And then anything else you want to know, Jeanette, I mean, you can jump on my show anytime you want. You know you're welcome. Sandy's always going to be there. Charles and Delroy, again, always welcome on the show, because they make so much. I can't get enough of Charles and Delroy, because you could go on and talk about this forever. And there's so much to it. I'm a little bit thick in the sense it takes a little while to soak into my vegetation, you know, and I'm not academically the most suited person there is out there. The University of Life is the university I went to, and I've learned most of my stuff from there. But the stuff I've learned from these guys has been phenomenal, and I only have to take my hat to Charles and Delroy. And with saying that, I'll bring Delroy in just to say a few more words.
Are you there, Del? Del's got some very good friends as well, T and that, when they come on his show.
Brilliant. Oh, I love T. I love listening to T, because T, when T speaks, and like Delroy spoke about that as well earlier on, T just wrapped around his little finger when he just had them, and there was nothing they could do. The police, T knows the law inside out, and when he was in custody, there was nothing they could do, because he stuck to his guns and he stuck to these no consent, no contract, no comment. Everything he said, right, is what we've talked and touched about. It's just remembering not to fight back, not to answer back. You might be one of them people that, like, I'm not being disrespectful, but you might be like Angie that has to have the last word. She wants to say the thing. She wants to be vocal. And I've got no problem with that. But sometimes you've got to let your heart rule your mind, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you what, Sandy, I can bring it up if I wanted. I have to dive into me files and all this lot. But in 2008, I had the Supreme Court there in London. It was at the Royal Court of Justice then. It's in the old London Council chambers now, sort of thing, officers and that. But I had them and forced them to write my names on the documents to me, Charles Ernest Spencer, in small case. They stick Mr. in front, capital letters, they will get them returned. There'll be £1,000 charge against them. And they started writing Charles Ernest Spencer in small case.
You can actually do that, Sandy. You can actually go and get registered by the common law court. Now, if you get registered by the common law court, your name become, you go by your birth certificate, which is what the government want you to be. You can register as Sandy, whatever your middle name is, of the family Smith. The same as Archer, the same as Merritt, whatever we want to do, we can. And I often, if I don't tend to open letters now that's got the franking or PO boxes on, because once you open that letter, you've committed yourself, right? You just write on it, return to sender. This person not at this address, whatever the case. If you don't like what you see, and you smell a rat, just send it back. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
So how do you go about this, like changing your name to this, like Alexander, son of Smith? How do you go about doing all this? You're saying to me common law. How would I go about doing this?
Charles has done it, hasn't he, Charles?
What I do, Sandy, is that I actually get a copy of my birth certificate, get it scanned, if you know what I mean. And then I'll say, if you look in box 2, it's got Charles Ernest. Box 3, it's got Spencer, because I'm Charles Spencer of the family Spencer, or Spencer family, and all this lot. And it's all in small case. And I say that is the lawful name given on the 17th of May, 1951, in agreement between my parents and an Alice Bamford, who was the Queen's representative for the area, sort of thing, because the Queen herself is busy. She can't come to all registrations of people, sort of thing. So then she hands it out, the duties, to the register, which is Alice Bamford. She's acting on behalf of the Queen, sort of thing. And there is the Queen's assent that I am Charles Ernest of the Spencer family, but I shorten it for the sake of letters, Charles Ernest Spencer in small case. If anybody has a problem with it, take it out with the Queen, because she gave royal assent to it. So don't come to me, go and sort it out with her.
But how do I go about, say if I wanted to do this tomorrow, how would I go about this with the common law court? How do you get?
Well, first of all, if you Google, just go onto Google, right, and search common law, look into it first, just be wary of what you do. Don't just sign up to anything just because
Aye.
there's the tricksters out there and whatever you might be, and there might be people. But look at it. But you look for your genuine common law. There is a genuine one, isn't there, Charles?
Commonlawcourt.com it is.
I know. I'm sure it is as it's named, the common law.
I did it myself online. It's a simple form.
Yeah. And then what you do is you open it up and all this lot, and basically you just register yourself. You don't have to pay anything, this and another sort of thing. You register it. After a few days, whatever it is, then you'll get your national insurance number. You get your code, if you know what I mean, sort of thing.
The trouble with what we're talking about is that once you're committed, once they've got you, and I'm not being funny, Sandy, they sound like they've already got you because they've got your address, they've got you on camera, they've got everything they need to know about you. What you can do, so what I would say to you is that think of the consequences that might surround this. And you might have to talk to Jane about that because there are probably other implications. Now, my wife, I know what she'd say to me. She'd turn around and say, "Oh, just pay the damn fine." But what I'm saying to you at the end of the day, if you've been caught red-handed, it's fine. If you've not committed yourself and if you haven't hurt or done something, then we could talk about going down the road. It's the same as if you stick to the rule of no comment when you get confronted by the police and you mention the 3 C's. Later on, you can do what Delroy says: sue the bumpercart arse off them, and go down that road if you want to do, Charles is holding up something. Go on, Charles.
There's the common law birth certificate. Renounce the government's one. There's a common law one. And the beauty of them, sort of thing, which is better than what they do, it is fully embossed, stamped into the paper impression, or the crest and that, the royal crest and that.
You can actually get a common law credit card. It's like a credit card, and it says common law court. Now, hypothetically, let's put it in a different terminology. If the police came up to you, you could turn around. If you've got that plastic ID from the common law court, you could turn around and say, you stand under common law. I bet you no harm, no loss, no injury, and I no comments. And you could show your ID, and you're showing you're part of the common law court. And that is the road that you want to go down.
Yeah, those cards are £7 from the common law court website.
Is that just a website online? Just Google common law court.
Yeah, common law courts.
Yeah, just common law court. Google it, and it'll come up, and you'll see the membership come up. See, you get a Union Jack, or you've got the George, the Cross of George St George's. Normally get a Union Jack, but you can get one for. Yeah, that all comes through to you. I've actually sent away from mine, to be truthful.
Yeah, I'm going to get them.
I think on actual fact, Spearthrow, I think I paid 15 quid for mine, so I paid a bit over the top.
No, I actually got mine free because I helped John and that, if you know what I mean, a long time ago and all this lot. But I said, no, I will pay, you know what I mean, no favours, sort of thing for the cause and that. And I actually, mine were £25, but if he's load them, I don't know. I'm not bothered, like, you know what I mean. But I have that on me. If the policeman ever come to, I'll just go.
So, yeah, just be careful what you do, what you say when you're in confrontation. Some people will try and speak their way out of it. That is not a way to go down. You're not going to win. Not with the way they are programmed, not with their mindset. Now, like Delroy's talked about tonight, and this is why I wanted these guys in with me tonight, because I know a little bit about it, but I'm not as hard and in depth to it as Charles and Delroy are. But the professional police behaviour, when Delroy was reading that out, they don't know their own oath of office. They don't know their own professional standards. They don't know their own professional codes of conduct. You know, you talk to them about this and stuff that we have to learn when we work for corporations or councils and stuff like that, when we have to do all these things, when we work for these people, right? We have to do health and safety. We have to do make ourselves aware of this as far as reasonable or possible, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to anything to do with the state, it's a totally different thing, because they try to bound you over for whatever and have you controlled. You know, we're just unless we all sort of storm the Houses of Parliament and sit in Houses of Parliament, not much is going to change. You know, they've got barriers in Whitehall. They've got barriers outside Parliament now. If you've seen them black blocks that you've seen in Parliament or Westminster or Whitehall or anywhere around Trafalgar Square, they're starting to erect them all over London in certain places. Those are what they did today. The first time I saw them was today. I've seen them when we were down in Whitehall, Jeanette, but for the first time I actually saw them close Whitehall off with the big black boards, which is part of them black things they use outside Parliament. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They're like kind of like bollards or something in the road. But
they try and say that they're there to stop the terrorists driving their vans down there.
Yeah, but they're also part of a fortress that can be put up as a barrier.
Yeah, the bollards of peace, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's a barrier like they did today. But those barriers are, if they wanted to, they obviously could put machinery in front of them to stop anybody driving through them. So if they wanted to, they could actually close Whitehall off completely and Parliament off completely if they really wanted to. And they could put them big blocks in the middle of the road with either a forklift truck or some kind of machinery or crane or whatever the case might be.
I noticed they've started that in Glasgow. One of these big.
It's all about the control.
All along.
Things aren't going to get any better. Mark my words. So they furlong people now to March. So Corona's going to last till March now. They're talking about the lockdown ending in the 2nd of December.
Not going to happen.
There you go. Welcome to Spear Fry. I love that.
So my suggestion is that we get that army and we take down the doors of Parliament.
That's the only way we're going to do it. We actually sit in the Houses of Parliament and just protest in the Houses of Parliament. What are they going to do? They're going to do it when millions of people storm. Then police aren't going to hold them numbers back.
No, they won't.
At Nottingham, when the police tried to kettle us at Nottingham, and the veterans just pushed them out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, they were stood there for so long, but their plan and what they do so much nowadays is almost going back to the realms of the football days when they used to kettle the supporters to try and keep them away from the opposing supporters. It's something that went back to them days. Anyway, I haven't heard anything from Kimberly or Adele. Their show's supposed to start now.
No,
So
be on
I
the way
wonder where the
in a minute
girls
now.
are. They're supposed to be doing a premiere show tonight. It's supposed to be coming on. And so I'm hoping.
Kimberly's in the chat.
Yeah, Kimberly will be on
Wake
the
up.
way in any minute now.
Stage.
And, she's been joined
So
by Adele
we'll have
later
to
on.
wish them good luck. But what I will say is you can stay on for a little while longer, girl, and we'll just welcome these two new girls and wish them all the best in what they do. But as usual, Sandy, thank you for whatever you know. Your contribution is immense and always brilliant to have you as a help with me because I had technical problems, so you guys helped back me up tonight. And Charles, as ever, it's always a pleasure when you come on and listening to you. You're absolutely brilliant. Delroy, I've nothing but admiration and respect for you. Jeanette, I absolutely love you like a sister. And Spearthrow, I thank you for your contribution as well. And having said that, Kimberly's just coming in now. Are you in, Kimberly? I can't hear her, so you there, Kimberly? You muted your mic, Kim.
Hi everyone, I've been listening all night.
Give me just a second to change the name over on the screen. 1 second, guys. Hang on a second.